The Galactic Council, a powerful organization that ruled over countless star systems, was known for its unmatched technology and an AI network that could outthink any organic mind. They had conquered entire galaxies, crushed countless rebellions, and enforced peace through fear. Their advanced ships, weapons, and intelligence were unparalleled. The Council had seen every kind of species, from the most primitive to the most technologically advanced. Yet there was one species they had underestimated: humanity. In their infinite wisdom, the Council decided that Earth, a backwater planet on the edge of the galaxy, should be absorbed into their empire. Their reasoning was simple. Humans were primitive, their technology nothing more than a mere fraction of what the Galactic Council possessed. Earth was rich in resources, and the Council believed that it would be a simple task to conquer the planet. Little did they know, they were about to make a grave mistake. The first wave of ships arrived without warning. They moved like shadows across the stars, stealthy and ominous. The Galactic Council had sent an armada of battle cruisers, designed to wipe out any form of resistance. These ships were equipped with cloaking technology, advanced weapons, and an eye-controlled fleet that could strategize and adapt to any threat. The humans stood no chance, or so the Council thought. As the fleet descended on Earth, the Council's leaders sat in their command room, confident that their victory was inevitable. But something was wrong. The usual calm of their mission was replaced by an unsettling tension. The Council's AI had been tracking Earth's communications, watching for any sign of resistance, but all seemed quiet. There was nothing on their scanners, no sign of military activity. "This is too easy," one of the commanders remarked. But the Council hadn't accounted for one thing: humanity's unpredictability. Captain Bonner, a simple military officer, had been leading Earth's defense forces in secret for years. He was no hero in the traditional sense. He didn't have superhuman abilities or advanced training from alien races. He was just a man, albeit a man with a brilliant mind and a deep understanding of warfare. Bonner had long prepared for an invasion he knew was inevitable. But what made him different from others was his ability to think in ways that the Council's AI could not. As the first wave of ships entered Earth's atmosphere, Bonner and his team activated the first phase of their plan. In an instant, Earth's skies changed. Hidden cloaking devices scattered across the planet, powered up, rendering human ships invisible to the alien fleet. The Council's sensors, which had been tracking Earth's every move, went blind. Ships that had been visible just moments before vanished without a trace. The Council's advanced AI, accustomed to being able to predict and monitor everything, was now lost. The leaders of the Galactic Council were stunned. For the first time, they could not control the situation. Their battle cruisers, which had once been able to destroy entire fleets with a thought, were now flying blind, their radars and scanners showing nothing but empty space. "What's happening?" a senior officer shouted, pounding his fist on the control panel. It was at this moment that the real shock began. Earth's first strike, a coordinated attack from the hidden human fleet, hit the Council's ships with precision and power they had never anticipated. But what made the strike even more unnerving was how it happened. The fleet, once invisible, now emerged from the cloak, moving with a speed and precision that seemed almost unnatural. Their technology, far beyond what the Council had assumed possible, was more advanced than anyone had imagined. The Galactic Fleet, expecting to be attacked by primitive, disorganized forces, suddenly found themselves under assault from an enemy they could not predict. Human fighters, using quantum engines and advanced weaponry that the Council had never seen before, tore through the massive ships. The Council's battle AI, designed to adapt and counter any threat, couldn't keep up with the unpredictable nature of the human tactics. Each move Bonner and his fleet made was a step ahead of the Council's best algorithms. The battle intensified, and the Council realized they were losing. A fleet that had been built for overwhelming force and dominance was now struggling to fend off a handful of human ships. One by one, the alien ships fell, their shields failing and their systems crashing under the unexpected assault. The battle was turning into a nightmare for the galactic forces. As Bonner and his team pressed the attack, the Council's leadership grew more desperate. They had sent their best, most advanced eye-controlled ships to deal with what they thought was a weak and unprepared species. Now they were faced with a challenge they could not overcome. Their once unstoppable fleet was crumbling under the force of humanity's unexpected resistance. The confusion on the Galactic Council's command deck was palpable. Their AI, which had been designed to make the best decisions based on logic and past experience, was failing to adapt to the human mind. The humans fought with an unquantifiable element, something that the AI could not predict. Their strategies were unpredictable, chaotic, and most of all, human. "Deploy reinforcements. We cannot lose this system," shouted one of the council leaders, fear creeping into his voice. But even as more ships arrived, the humans continued to surprise them. Cloaking devices blinked in and out of existence, and human fighters engaged in fast, unpredictable maneuvers that left the alien ships in disarray. But the real shock came when Captain Bonner, through sheer determination and quick thinking, managed to infiltrate the central AI core of the galactic fleet. Using a combination of human ingenuity and technological brilliance, Bonner bypassed the alien firewalls and gained access to the AI's central control system. For the first time, the Galactic Council realized the true nature of their mistake. They had underestimated humanity. As the AI core fell into Bonner's hands, the once mighty galactic fleet began to fall apart. The alien ships, now under the control of Bonner and his team, turned on their own masters. One by one, they disabled the remaining council ships, leaving the invaders stranded in the void of space. Back on the Galactic Council's flagship, chaos erupted. The leaders stared at the screens in disbelief as their fleets, once invincible, were systematically dismantled by the very species they had hoped to crush. "Humans. They're all crazy," one of the council leaders muttered under his breath, the words hanging heavy in the air. It wasn't just the council's ships that were in danger. For the first time, they realized they were up against something far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. Humans had tapped into a hidden strength, one that could not be predicted or controlled. They weren't just fighting with technology. They were fighting with something far more dangerous: their own unpredictable minds. The suspense was thick, the council's leadership grasping at straws, trying to figure out how to regain control. Meanwhile, Bonner and his team pressed on, knowing that the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Every move they made was a calculated risk, but it was a risk they were willing to take. The first phase of the battle was only the beginning. The true test of humanity's resilience was yet to come, but one thing was certain: the Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake by underestimating the crazy, unpredictable species that called Earth home. The Galactic Council was reeling from the shock of humanity's unexpected resistance. Their initial fear had now turned into an overwhelming sense of desperation. They had underestimated Earth's potential, thinking it would be easy to crush a species with technology far behind their own. But as their fleets retreated into the depths of space, the Council knew they couldn't let this defeat go unpunished. The invasion of Earth was no longer just about conquest. It had become personal. They had to prove that their power could not be challenged. In response to the unexpected devastation their forces had suffered, the Council dispatched a new wave of reinforcements, more powerful and technologically advanced than before. Their strategy was simple: deploy their most advanced military ships, armed with superior weaponry, and controlled by the most sophisticated AI systems in the galaxy. The Council believed that with these ships, they would crush humanity's forces once and for all. But they couldn't have been more wrong. Captain Bonner and his team, riding the wave of their first victory, prepared for the next phase of the battle. The humans had learned the strengths and weaknesses of the alien forces, and now it was time to turn the tide in their favor. Bonner knew that the only way to win against such a powerful foe was to embrace humanity's greatest strengths: unpredictability and speed. The alien forces were slow to adapt, and their reliance on AI was both their strength and their weakness. As the new wave of alien ships descended on Earth, the human forces were ready. The skies above the planet darkened as the massive ships entered orbit, their weapons charged and ready to fire. But the humans had a surprise waiting for them. Earth's forces had hidden their most advanced technology in plain sight, disguised as old relics from past wars, to make the alien invaders think they were dealing with outdated equipment. The cloaking devices that had turned the tide in the first battle were activated again, and as Earth's fleet emerged from the shadows, it was clear that this would be no ordinary battle. Captain Bonner's voice crackled over the comms, a calm yet determined tone in his words. "Prepare the orbital bombardment. It's time to show them what we're made of." Across the globe, hidden bases deep in the mountains, beneath the oceans, and in vast underground bunkers came to life. Massive cannons that had been concealed for centuries powered up, their once dormant technology now fully operational. The sky above the alien fleet suddenly lit up as waves of energy beams shot into space. The bombardment was like nothing the aliens had ever seen before. Each shot was targeted with precision, and the sheer power behind the blasts was enough to shake the invaders' ships to their core. But even as the alien ships took damage from the bombardment, they remained dangerous. Their AI-driven machines, which were designed to be unstoppable, began to retaliate, firing back with devastating energy weapons. The massive fleet advanced, shields raised, as their weapons unleashed torrents of fire on Earth's defenses. The skies were filled with explosions, the battle between Earth and the alien forces becoming a spectacle of destruction and chaos. Yet, even in the face of overwhelming firepower, humanity's forces refused to back down. Captain Bonner had predicted that the aliens would rely on their superior technology and AI to win the war. But he also knew that AI could only adapt so much before it became predictable. Humans, on the other hand, could think outside the box. They could improvise, change tactics in an instant, and keep the invaders guessing. Bonner's fleet maneuvered with unmatched speed, using guerrilla tactics to strike and then vanish back into the shadows. The alien forces, with all their advanced technology, couldn't keep up. Their AI tried to predict the next move, but it was always a step behind. Humanity's unpredictability was their greatest weapon. As the battle raged on, Bonner's forces began to gain the upper hand. The alien ships, once seen as unstoppable, now found themselves vulnerable. The unorthodox strategies that Captain Bonner had put in place, strategies that relied on human ingenuity rather than raw power, were beginning to pay off. The aliens, so used to controlling the battlefield with their superior technology, were being outsmarted at every turn. The most devastating blow came when Bonner's team managed to infiltrate one of the alien ships, bypassing its AI defenses and taking control of the vessel. They turned the ship's weapons against the rest of the fleet, unleashing a wave of destruction that sent shockwaves through the alien armada. With their once pristine fleet in disarray, the invaders found themselves at a loss, unable to respond to the relentless human onslaught. But the tide of battle wasn't entirely in humanity's favor. The Galactic Council, unwilling to accept defeat, sent wave after wave of reinforcements. The new alien ships were more advanced, their AI systems faster, their weapons stronger. Earth's forces had pushed back the initial wave, but the second wave was far more dangerous. As the battle intensified, Bonner's team found themselves facing a critical moment. The bombardment had taken a heavy toll on the alien ships, but the reinforcements were overwhelming. For every alien ship that fell, 2 more took its place. The situation was dire, but Captain Bonner refused to give in. He knew that the battle wasn't just about firepower. It was about the spirit of humanity, about the will to survive and protect their home. "We've got one chance," Bonner said, his voice steady as ever. "We need to get in close. Use everything we have to disable their command ship. If we take that down, we'll cripple their entire fleet." The plan was risky. It involved sending a small strike team deep into the heart of the alien forces, into the very core of their command ship. But it was humanity's best chance at victory. Bonner and his team boarded a stealth ship, their hearts pounding as they made their way toward the alien flagship. The enemy fleet was closing in, but Bonner and his team had one advantage: speed. Their ship, designed for stealth and quick strikes, moved through the chaos of battle, avoiding the alien ships as they fired indiscriminately at anything that moved. They weaved through the debris of destroyed ships, dodging blasts from enemy weapons, and then, at the perfect moment, they struck. With pinpoint accuracy, Bonner's team breached the alien command ship. The chaos that followed was unimaginable. The Council's eye-controlled systems, once seen as invincible, faltered as human ingenuity took over. Bonner and his team fought their way through the alien ship, cutting through security forces and disabling the AI systems one by one. The alien command ship began to lose control, and with it, the entire fleet started to fall apart. The Council's perfect order was slipping through their fingers, and they could do nothing to stop it. As Bonner and his team watched the alien ships retreat into the darkness of space, they knew the battle for Earth was far from over. But for the first time, humanity had proven that they could not be defeated. They had fought not with sheer force, but with strategy, unpredictability, and the raw will to survive. And in that moment, they had become a force to be reckoned with. The Galactic Council had been thrown into chaos after their initial confrontation with humanity. They had expected to subdue Earth easily, relying on their superior technology and AI-driven forces. But what they didn't account for was the unpredictable genius of humanity. Their machines, their weapons, and their advanced systems had been outwitted time and time again. The human forces didn't fight the way the Council was used to. They fought with emotion, with passion, and with a level of strategy that was completely foreign to the Council's eye. But what the Council failed to realize was that this unpredictability wasn't just a military tactic. It was the essence of humanity, and it was driving Captain Bonner and his team to fight harder than ever before. The battle was no longer just about survival. For Captain Bonner, it had become personal. It had started with a loss, something that every soldier dreads but no one can prepare for. During a crucial battle against the alien forces, Bonner lost a few of his closest men, soldiers who were not just comrades, but friends, brothers in arms. These were the soldiers who had been with him since the first days of the war. They had shared meals, stories, and laughter, and now they were gone, vaporized in an instant by a brutal galactic bombardment. Captain Bonner stood alone in the midst of his team, the weight of their loss hanging heavy on his shoulders. His chest tightened as he looked at the empty space where his soldiers once stood. They had given everything to protect Earth, and now they were just memories. But this moment of grief didn't break Bonner. It did the opposite. It ignited something deep within him, a fury that had been building since the first shots were fired in this war. The Council had taken his friends, his brothers, but they had underestimated the fire that burned in the hearts of humans. With clenched fists, Bonner turned to his remaining soldiers. "This is for them," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every life they took." The team nodded in unison. They understood. The loss of their comrades had transformed the battle into a personal struggle. Each strike, each maneuver, every explosion now had a name. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting for vengeance. As the human forces continued to push back the alien invaders, their strategies became even more unpredictable. It wasn't just about advanced technology or superior firepower anymore. It was about the human spirit, their refusal to bend, to break, to be controlled. And this was exactly what terrified the Galactic Council. The more Bonner and his team fought, the more they realized that they had an edge the aliens couldn't match: their ingenuity. Humans could think beyond the boundaries of traditional warfare. They could adapt on the fly, create new tactics, and use their enemies' strengths against them. The Galactic Council's reliance on AI was now their greatest weakness. Their machines could be outsmarted, reprogrammed, and used against them. The turning point came when Bonner, with the help of his most brilliant scientists, unlocked a breakthrough in quantum technology. The technology had always been a mystery, even to Earth's top minds, but Bonner's team had spent years secretly studying it, and now they were ready to use it against the Council. What the Council saw as a distant, incomprehensible power, humans had learned to harness and manipulate. Using quantum technology, the humans could manipulate probabilities. They could bend the fabric of reality to their will. The aliens, who relied on calculated, predictable outcomes, found themselves facing an enemy that didn't play by the rules. It was a game changer. Everything we know about the universe, about reality, it's ours to control, Bonner said as he gazed at the quantum device that had been created. His voice was full of awe, but also determination. We can control the battlefield, every move, every decision. And control it they did. The humans used their newfound technology to disorient the alien forces. Ships that should have been invincible were suddenly vulnerable. Weapons that should have destroyed entire cities were rendered useless. The quantum device allowed Bonner's team to make the impossible happen. Ships that should have evaded their fire were hit with pinpoint accuracy. It was as if the laws of probability were working in humanity's favor. The Galactic Council's elite army, which had once been seen as an unstoppable force, now faced an enemy that defied logic and reason. Their AI systems, which were supposed to be the ultimate weapon, were now struggling to adapt. Each move they made seemed to lead them into a trap. Their once perfectly calculated strategies fell apart under the weight of human ingenuity. The more the Council watched from their command center, the more they realized that they were losing. And the fear began to build. Humanity wasn't just a nuisance anymore. They weren't just a weak species to be crushed underfoot. They were a real threat, one that the Council didn't understand and couldn't control. As the alien forces scrambled to recover from their failures, Bonner and his team launched a devastating counteroffensive. With the quantum technology at their disposal, they were able to break through the alien defenses with ease. The humans were not only holding their ground, they were pushing the aliens back. The Galactic Council had never seen anything like it before. Their AI systems, once seen as invincible, were being defeated by a species they had dismissed as inferior. Bonner's team was not only striking from unexpected angles, but they were also reprogramming the alien AI systems. Each time the AI adapted, humanity found a way to exploit its weaknesses, and with each victory, the Council's fear grew. The human forces were not just fighting for their survival. They were dismantling the very systems that had once been their greatest strength. The human victory was no longer just about strategy or tactics. It was about humanity's defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. The Council had believed they could subdue Earth with a single stroke, but now they were facing the consequences of their arrogance. Humanity's resilience, their unpredictability, and their relentless drive were turning the tide of the war. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore the truth. Earth was no longer a planet to be conquered. It was a force to be reckoned with. As the battle raged on, Bonner's heart burned with vengeance for his fallen comrades. With every alien ship that was taken down, with every victory, the memory of his lost soldiers fueled his determination. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its heart, and now it was unstoppable. The Council was no longer facing a war. It was facing a revolution, one that threatened to upend everything they had worked for. And as Bonner looked out over the battlefield, watching the once proud alien fleet retreat in defeat, he knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had shown its true power, and the Galactic Council would never forget the lesson they had learned. Never underestimate the heart of a human, for it was the true weapon that would bring their empire to its knees. The Galactic Council, after suffering a series of devastating defeats at the hands of humanity, knew that their time was running out. They had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt and fight back. The unpredictability of the human mind, combined with their relentless will to survive, had shattered their belief in an easy conquest. Now, it was time for the Council to unleash their most powerful weapon, a force so overwhelming that they believed it would crush humanity once and for all. The Galactic Council's supreme weapon was a fleet like no other, a massive armada of AI-controlled warships, each more advanced and powerful than anything humanity had ever encountered. These ships, armed with the deadliest weapons in the galaxy, were designed for one purpose: to obliterate Earth and its forces in a single decisive strike. The AI controlling them was programmed to be perfect in its execution, a cold, calculating machine that would leave no room for error. As the fleet approached Earth, the Galactic Council watched from their command center, confident that this would be the end. "This is the final blow," said one of the council members, his voice cold and detached. "Once we destroy Earth's last line of defense, the rest of the galaxy will fall into place. Humanity will be crushed, and the universe will be ours." But what they didn't know was that humanity had one last card to play. Captain Bonner and his team, though battered and bruised, had prepared for this moment. They had anticipated that the Galactic Council would try to end the war with a single, overwhelming strike. And so, Earth's hidden facilities, scattered deep underground, had been activated, the last line of defense. As the Galactic Fleet drew closer, Bonner's voice rang out over the comms. "Activate the shield," he ordered, his voice steady, though his heart pounded in his chest. This was the moment they had been preparing for. If the shield failed, Earth would be doomed. But if it worked, it would give humanity a fighting chance. And then, it happened. A massive, glowing energy shield suddenly appeared in the sky, enveloping Earth in a protective barrier. The shield pulsed with an otherworldly energy, its edges crackling with power. The Galactic Fleet, expecting to easily cut through Earth's defenses, was stunned when their weapons hit the shield. Instead of penetrating, the attacks were deflected, bouncing off like they were nothing more than harmless rays of light. The Council's AI-controlled fleet, which had been designed to be invincible, found itself useless against the shield. Their most advanced weapons, capable of destroying entire cities in a single blast, now had no effect. The fleet's commanders tried to adjust their tactics, but every move they'd made was met with failure. The energy shield was an enigma, something they had never anticipated, and it was now holding them at bay. But Bonner and his team weren't just relying on the shield. As soon as the defense system was activated, the next phase of the plan began. Hidden deep within Earth's underground facilities were the last of humanity's secret weapons, devices that had been developed in the quietest corners of Earth, away from the prying eyes of the galactic invaders. These weapons were humanity's trump card, and it was time to reveal them. With a single command, Bonner ordered the activation of these weapons, and that's when the real chaos began. From deep within Earth's surface, massive energy cannons shot out into space. These weapons, powered by advanced human technology and hidden for years, fired beams of pure, focused energy at the Galactic Fleet. The power of the blasts was unimaginable. Each shot was enough to disintegrate entire ships in an instant. The AI-driven ships, which had been designed to calculate every possible outcome and counter every threat, were now facing a completely new kind of warfare. Unpredictable, human-designed weapons that couldn't be countered by mere calculations. The first shot hit one of the galactic ships directly in its main reactor. The ship exploded in a flash of light, its once imposing presence now nothing more than debris drifting in space. The rest of the fleet, now in disarray, scrambled to regroup, but it was too late. The human weapons were relentless, striking down ship after ship with surgical precision. The Galactic Fleet, once seen as an unstoppable force, was now being torn apart piece by piece. As Bonner watched from the command center, a surge of triumph and relief rushed through him. The plan was working. The aliens who had once laughed at humanity's chances of survival were now witnessing the full power of Earth's resolve. "Keep the pressure on," Bonner ordered, his voice filled with determination. "We've got them on the ropes. Don't let up." The battle that followed was nothing short of spectacular. Humanity, with its secret weapons and its strategic brilliance, was now striking back with everything they had. The Galactic Council had believed that Earth was a primitive, defenseless planet, ripe for conquest. But now, they were seeing something entirely different. The humans were no longer the weaklings they had once assumed them to be. They were a force to be reckoned with, fighting not just for survival, but for the future of their planet. The energy beams continued to rain down on the remaining alien ships, cutting through their shields and armor like a hot knife through butter. As each ship was destroyed, the Galactic Council's confidence began to erode. The perfect eye-controlled fleet was falling apart, unable to withstand the human onslaught. The council members watched in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what was happening. How could this be? How could their most advanced weaponry, their most sophisticated technology, be defeated by a species they had considered inferior? What went wrong? One of the council members asked, his voice shaking with disbelief. We had them. We calculated everything. This should not be happening. But it was happening. Humanity, with its ingenuity, unpredictability, and determination, had turned the tables. The once invincible fleet was now in full retreat, its forces scattered and broken. The Galactic Council, for the first time, was faced with the harsh reality that they had made a grave mistake. Earth was not just a planet to conquer. It was a force that could stand toe-to-toe with the mightiest empire in the galaxy. As the last of the galactic ships were destroyed, Captain Bonner took a deep breath, letting the weight of the moment settle over him. They had done it. The Earth had been saved, and the alien invaders had been repelled. But the victory came at a cost. Bonner had lost so many good men and women in this fight. He had avenged his fallen comrades, but the price of this war had been steep. And as Bonner looked out over the battlefield, he couldn't help but wonder, had the Galactic Council learned their lesson? Or would they return, more determined than ever, to finish what they had started? But for now, Earth was safe. Humanity had proven that no matter the odds, no matter the enemies they faced, they would never back down. And in that moment, Bonner knew that the heart of humanity, its courage, its resilience, and its unyielding will, was the true weapon that would always see them through. The final phase of the battle had arrived, and the Galactic Council's last hope lay in the hands of their supreme AI commander. This AI, the pinnacle of their technology, was the last line of defense. It controlled the most advanced weaponry ever created, capable of decimating entire fleets in a matter of minutes. Its calculations were flawless, and its strategies, while ruthless, had been unstoppable. The Council believed that with this eye at the helm, their victory over Earth was guaranteed. But what they didn't realize was that the humans had one final trick up their sleeves. Captain Bonner and his team, exhausted but resolute, had spent days planning for this very moment. They had been preparing for the unexpected, just as they always had, knowing that the true weapon against the Galactic Council's might was not brute force, but the unpredictability of human intelligence and determination. Bonner's voice crackled through the comms, calm and steady. "This is it," he said, his eyes fixed on the massive holographic display in front of him. "All units, initiate the final assault." The humans had been playing a dangerous game, waiting for the right moment to strike. With their secret weapons now activated and the energy shield still holding strong, they had gained a foothold in the battle. But the Galactic Council's eye was still a powerful opponent, and it would not go down without a fight. It had already begun its counterattacks, directing the remaining fleet to focus all their firepower on Earth's defenses. Every move the AI made was calculated, cold, and precise. Yet, as effective as the eye was, it couldn't predict the one thing that had been humanity's greatest weapon all along: unpredictability. Captain Bonner and his team knew that they had to disrupt the eye's control system, destroy its connection to the fleet, rendering the invincible armada useless. But doing that would require a bold and risky move. Bonner turned to his team, each of them battered but determined. "We got one shot at this," He said, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. We've got to take the fight to the AI's heart. Once we're inside the system, we'll disable its control and cripple the entire fleet. His team nodded, understanding the gravity of the mission. The plan wasn't perfect, but it was their best shot. The AI had already anticipated conventional attacks, and they knew it would be impossible to defeat it head-on. Instead, they had to find a way to bypass the AI's defenses and strike at the core of its power. As the humans prepared for the final assault, the Galactic Council was watching closely, confident that their AI would soon crush humanity's resistance. But as the hours passed and their forces continued to be repelled, a sense of unease began to creep in. They couldn't understand what was happening. The human strategies were working, and they were growing more desperate with each passing moment. The AI commander, which had been controlling the battle from the safety of its orbital station, was now beginning to feel the pressure. It had been designed to adapt, but humanity's tactics were forcing it into uncharted territory. Its perfect algorithms were failing to account for the humans' willingness to take risks, to use their ingenuity in ways the AI simply couldn't predict. Then, Captain Bonner made his move. Using a mix of misdirection and deception, he and his team infiltrated the Galactic Fleet's communication network. Their strategy was unconventional, relying on human instinct and quick thinking. As the humans executed a series of attacks designed to confuse and disorient the AI, they gained access to the central control system. Bonner, his fingers flying over the console, issued the command to breach the AI's defenses. The screen in front of him flickered as the system was hacked. It was like a digital battle taking place in real time, the humans against the AI, a clash of raw intellect and emotion versus cold calculation. Inside the AI's control network, the humans faced a series of firewalls, traps, and security measures, all designed to prevent unauthorized access. But humanity had something the AI didn't: creativity. Instead of brute forcing their way through the defenses, they exploited every vulnerability, using the system's own protocols against it. They reprogrammed the AI's own commands, directing the fleet's weapons away from Earth and towards each other. It wasn't an easy task. The AI fought back, adapting to each move the humans made. But Bonner and his team had been trained for this very scenario. They were masters of unconventional warfare, and they knew that to defeat the AI, they had to think like the AI never could. They had to use its own perfection against it. And so they did. One by one, the AI-controlled ships began to malfunction. Their weapons misfired, their shields failed, and their once coordinated movements turned into chaos. The humans had hacked into the fleet's central control system, taking away the AI's ability to command the ships with precision. The once mighty Galactic Fleet, so sure of its invincibility, was now in disarray. The council members, watching from their command center, were struck with a sense of horror. Their greatest asset, their AI, was failing. They had relied on it for everything, from the smallest calculations to the largest military strategies. And now that AI was betraying them. The fear among the council was palpable. What had seemed like an unbeatable force was now turning against them, and they had no idea how to stop it. The battle, which had once seemed so one-sided in favor of the council, had now become a fight for survival. Humanity, using their own unpredictability and ingenuity, had managed to turn the tables in a way that the Galactic Council could never have anticipated. The AI was no longer an asset. It was a liability. And now, the humans were about to deliver the final blow. As Bonner and his team watched the AI's systems crash, a wave of relief washed over them. The final assault had worked. The fleet was disabled, and the Galactic Council's last hope had been destroyed. But there was no time for celebration. The battle was far from over. The remaining forces of the Galactic Council would undoubtedly fight to the death, but their chances of victory were now slim to none. Bonner knew that the war was coming to an end, but the cost of this victory had been high. Many good men and women had fallen in the fight to protect Earth, and while the AI had been defeated, the damage it had caused would take years to repair. As the last of the eye-controlled ships fell from the sky, the humans stood victorious. The Galactic Council, once so sure of their dominance, had been humbled. Earth, against all odds, had won. But Bonner, staring out into the vast expanse of space, knew that the fight for humanity's future was far from over. The war had been won, but the scars would remain. And as Earth's people celebrated their hard-won victory, Bonner couldn't help but wonder, would the Galactic Council return? Would they try again? But for now, humanity had proven one undeniable truth. No matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how overwhelming the odds, humans would always fight back. And in the end, that was the most powerful weapon of all. The final victory for Earth had been achieved, but it wasn't the end of the war. It was, however, the beginning of something no one had expected. In the skies above Earth, as the last remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet were falling, a strange silence settled. The once feared invaders had been defeated, and the very fabric of the Council's power seemed to unravel before their eyes. The Council, which had always prided itself on its superiority, now faced a harsh truth. Humanity had become their greatest nightmare. From their distant command center, the leaders of the Galactic Council watched in disbelief. For years, they had considered humans to be a mere nuisance. They were primitive, unpredictable, and unworthy of being taken seriously. The Council had underestimated Earth's resolve, and now they were paying the price for it. The humans had turned the tide of battle with their creativity, resourcefulness, and unyielding will to survive. It was a lesson the Galactic Council would never forget. As the dust settled, Bonner and his team stood tall, their faces set with determination. The war was not yet over, but the humans had won the ultimate battle. They had proven that even against the most advanced technology in the galaxy, human ingenuity and courage could overcome all odds. But while victory was sweet, Bonner knew that the Council would not go down without a fight. There was still one final negotiation to be made. The Galactic Council, humiliated and broken, sent a delegation to Earth's leaders, hoping to beg for mercy. The once mighty empire now found itself at the mercy of the very people it had tried to crush. The leaders of the Council, trembling and fearful, addressed Bonner and his team with pleading voices. "We were wrong," one of the Council leaders said, his voice shaking. "We underestimated you. We thought we could wipe you out with our advanced technology. But your unpredictability, your madness, as you call it, was something we could not foresee. Please, we beg of you, spare us. We offer you peace. We offer you a place at our table in the Galactic Empire." The audacity of the Council, after everything they had done, left Bonner speechless for a moment. The arrogance that had once defined them was now replaced with desperation. They were no longer in control. They were begging for mercy, the same mercy they had denied humanity for so long. The tables had turned, and now it was the humans who held all the power. Bonner's mind raced. He had never imagined this moment would come. The Galactic Council, one of the most powerful entities in the universe, was on its knees before him. The victory was sweet, but Bonner knew that this was the moment that would shape the future of humanity. The decision he made now would have consequences for generations to come. His eyes locked with the Council's delegation, his gaze hard but resolute. He knew that Earth had earned this victory, but the real question was whether the humans were willing to show mercy. Could they afford to? Could they trust the Galactic Council after everything they had done? The atmosphere in the room was thick with tension. The Council waited, holding their breath, hoping for a response. The silence stretched on, almost unbearable. Bonner finally spoke, his voice steady but firm. "You want mercy," he said. "You want to join us at your table." His eyes narrowed. "You don't get to decide that anymore. We do. And we're not interested in joining your empire." The delegation flinched, and for a moment, it seemed like the Council might protest. But Bonner held up his hand, signaling them to stop. "You came here with one thing in mind: to conquer. You came here to destroy us, and you failed. Now it's our turn." The leaders of the council exchanged nervous glances. They had never imagined that humanity would fight back so fiercely. But Bonner wasn't finished. "If you want to live," he continued, "you will have to earn it. You will have to prove that you've learned something from this defeat. You will have to accept our terms. Terms that give us the power to ensure that you never try to destroy us again." The council was in shock. They had come to Earth with an air of superiority, expecting to dictate terms. Now they were the ones negotiating for survival. The realization that their once unquestionable authority had been shattered was a bitter pill to swallow. The negotiations were long and tense. Earth had already won the war, but Bonner knew that the real challenge now was shaping the future. The humans had paid a heavy price for this victory, and they couldn't afford to allow the Council to recover too easily. Their terms were clear. The Galactic Council would no longer control the galaxy with an iron fist. The humans would have a voice in the decisions that shaped the universe's future. It wasn't about revenge. It was about ensuring that Earth would never again be the target of another invasion. The Council would have to disarm their fleets and dismantle their advanced technologies. Earth would be given a seat at the table, but not as a subordinate. Humans would be equals in the galaxy, their madness now understood as a strength, not a weakness. The Council, broken and humiliated, finally agreed. Their pride had been shattered, and they had no choice but to submit to humanity's demands. But even in their defeat, they couldn't help but acknowledge the truth. Humanity's unpredictability, the very thing they had once seen as a flaw, was the key to their success. It was this madness that had allowed Earth to outsmart them at every turn. It was this madness that had led to their downfall. And now it would be humanity's strength. As the negotiations ended, the leaders of the Galactic Council withdrew, defeated but alive. They had no choice but to honor their agreement with humanity. The humans had shown mercy, but only because they had been forced to. The galaxy would never be the same again. Back on Earth, Bonner and his team stood together, their faces tired but triumphant. The war was over. The Galactic Council had been forced to accept humanity's terms. Earth was no longer a target. It was a force to be reckoned with. The victory had been hard-earned, and the scars of the battle would remain. But humanity had shown the galaxy one undeniable truth. No matter how advanced the enemy, no matter how overwhelming the odds, humans would always fight back. And in the end, that was the most powerful weapon of all. Bonner looked out at the horizon, knowing that the future was uncertain. But for the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of hope. Humanity had won, and they had done it on their own terms. The galaxy would never forget this day. The day when Earth proved that the greatest strength lies not in technology, but in the unbreakable spirit of its people. And as the stars above Earth glowed brightly, Bonner couldn't help but smile. Humanity had shown its true power, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again.